right, welcome everybody. We'll call to order the LAFCO meeting of May 8th. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Zanger.
Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Move on to approving affidavit of posting agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Give a second.
I'll second it.
First and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move to public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have public comment?
If you'd like to make a
Bear with us, please.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 or the raise hand icon. No public comment.
Move on to business items section, which is the first one, 5.1, is approval of minutes from April 10th. Do we have any public comment on minutes?
Chair, excuse me, did we do a roll call?
Call to order. Oh, we do roll call for this one. I'm sorry about that. We normally, yeah, there's some variance there. We didn't do a roll call, so we'll do a roll call real quick. We'll go back.
Commissioner Kosmicki,
Here.
Commissioner Zanger, Commissioner Stevens,
Here.
Commissioner Rodriguez, Commissioner Jordan.
Here.
All 5 present.
All right, great. We'll skip back ahead to minutes. Do we have any public comment on minutes?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card. On Zoom, you can press *9 or the raise hand icon. No comments.
Great. Do we have any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none. A motion to approve minutes?
So moved.
Some sort of audio issue. We'll try to figure that out. We have a first.
I'll second it.
First and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. So that would take us to 5.2, which is a rotation of LAFCO meeting location. So we have proposed amendment of administrative policy 6.1. Sorry, my computer's taking a moment to load. And this item was requested at a prior meeting, I believe by Commissioner Jordan, to discuss and give direction on meeting locations. And so the handbook currently states that the regular meetings of the commission held the second Thursday of each month, regular meetings held in the Board of Supervisors chamber, 41/4, commence at 4, and held on an annually rotating basis in this I guess the proposal would be to rotate from the chamber, City of Hollister, and City of San Juan Bautista council chambers. And either Executive Officer Stevenson or Commissioner Jordan, would you like to take the floor and kick off the discussion?
I could just give you background. I worked with the clerk, Vanessa, to discuss options. She reached out to the clerks of the other cities. They are on board with hosting, if that's the desire of the commission. We also talked logistically how to make that happen in the most efficient manner possible. Right now, with the agenda being hosted on the county website, we reimburse the county for all of the work done by the clerk. So the question becomes, what do we do if we're transitioning to the 2 cities? Do we have to work on agreements with the cities and those clerks and they have their own systems for putting it up? So we came up with a compromise that we could still work through the county and the county's agenda program, and then just have the clerks of each of the cities run the meetings and take the minutes. And we would still be reimbursing the county for their function as distributing and aiding with the agendas. That being said, we also looked at a possibility of rotating every meeting between the locations, and that was not a desirable option, just because lack of consistency would create confusion. And I can tell you from my perspective, having to get to know each location and the setup, over and over and over again would be a little frustrating. So, the recommended option is an annually rotating basis, and there's a schedule that's, included in notes.
Take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, we'll take a break and figure out our audio issues. Sorry about that. Haven't had this one before.
No.
It's different.
I'm wondering how that even, thinking about like the errors that could cause something like that.
Meeting. Hello. I think it's fixed. I think it's getting fixed. It sounds like it is now. Are we better? Are we better?
Test.
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 Doing that on purpose? Are you doing that on purpose? Stop messing around, Don.
Well, I don't know why all of a sudden out of the issue with the mics and the visual and the audio, it's like, it's just amazing, never ending.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
you can, because it says it on the agenda.
okay. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we'll just bear with us for a moment. So CMAP. Okay. I'm not, I didn't touch it. All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. We have audio issues with Zoom in particular, and we just encourage folks to go to CMAP if it works better there, and to communicate, send us an email or rush down here to the admin building if you have something pressing you'd like to share. But otherwise, we are going to continue the meeting, and we'll continue the discussion where we left off with Executive Officer Stevenson on the LAFCO meeting location.
Oh, okay. So in your packet is a recommendation on what the schedule would look like with 2025 being completed here at the county location, 2026 at the city of Hollister, and 2027 at the city of San Juan Bautista. And that's recommended to ensure that no single agency is hosting both the intergovernmental and the LAFCO meetings at the same time. So that being said, there's 2 actions that are recommended. One is to approve the amendment to the policy that can reflect an annually rotating schedule of meeting location. And then the second one is approving the proposed rotation plan and schedule.
Great. Commissioner Jordan, do you want to add anything since you requested this?
Thank you. And I appreciate both the rotating schedule
and the opportunity to present this. And just a reiteration of why, when we have applications out there, there was a board commission application submitted for this board, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not a San Benito County Board of Supervisors commission, sanctioned commission. This is an actual standalone entity, and to alleviate that confusion, having a jurisdictional rotation.
Great, we'll go to, public comment, we'll bring it back for further questions and comments.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card, or you can come up to the podium. No comments.
Bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, would you like to start? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions and a couple of comments. So, in principle, I agree with the sentiment around rotating jurisdictions and how that alleviates any question about whether there's any kind of ownership of any of the jurisdictions. So in principle, I agree with that. I think that my preference, however, would be to just keep it here just because historically it's always been here, and I think it might cause confusion with the public. I think, however, that is always the case when there's change. If that became like the regular normal practice moving forward, I think it would, with time, not be confusing. So I think either way, I think it's okay. I think it may cause some initial confusion because it's historically been here for so long. So I'm not sure that, I think for me, it's okay if it stays here. It's okay if we rotate, I think is what I'm saying. My only concern is, and I want to just be really clear about the cost of staff time. So in the document, it talks about reimbursing the county for clerking duties, and I just want to make sure that the clerks of the cities would also get reimbursed if they are the ones that are running the meetings, if we do move to the different jurisdictions.
Right, we can certainly look into that. The intent there was just that the county would continue to maintain an onus of the majority of the responsibility and time that it takes, and getting the agenda put together and sending it out. That takes the most time.
Yeah.
But I understand, so we can certainly come up with an option.
I mean, I
where
think
they get reimbursed.
so Jennifer, like for today, we have a very light agenda, so the time may be trivial, right? But there are times where it's a long meeting and so it is a lot of time. So that's the only concern that I have. So I would like to get that question answered, and then I'd also like to be able to go back and speak to my city manager about that, depending on what the answer is to that question before I make a decision about that. And I don't know if that's okay or not. I don't know if we wanted to just like get this off our plate today. But anyway, before I vote as a representative for the city of Hollister, I want to make sure that I'm not adding additional burden to a clerk that is already super busy. And then also want to check with our city manager to make sure, just get his thoughts about it. But if there is a reimbursement for the clerk's time, that obviously that would help. But I just want to know if I can get that question answered before I actually make a decision.
Yeah, certainly there's an opportunity to do that, of course.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Zinger?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm personally fine with it being here. I'm not going to die on that hill. I understand the reason for the suggested change. I think we could also just explain that. We could just reiterate that. It could be on the top of the agendas if necessary, that it's not a specific county sanctioned committee. I think that would probably suffice. I think it'd probably be a lot easier, I guess, a lot easier solution. Something simple like that, I think, would solve the issue. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
You know, the more I thought about this, the jurisdiction that this is really about is kind of more San Juan, because it almost would seem performative in the city of Hollister, because it's kind of like, you know, Hollister's right there. So it's like, oh, it's in the city chambers. Oh, it's in the county chambers. So that part seems kind of just performative to me. And it would seem, we can kind of articulate that, kind of what Supervisor Zhang was saying. Maybe there's just kind of iterating that with some kind of, you know, message, or some kind of even artwork or something that, you know, has a map of what LAFCO is, illustrating that. To me, it doesn't make sense to create the, you know, it sounds like the bureaucratic, more work to kind of, you know, take turns here, take turns there. Lastly, I think, you know, it's about building continuity in this county, in San Juan, in the city of Hollister, in the county at large, is we need to have consistency. And I think that's something that the county's kind of lacked. We've kind of lacked that consistency, lacked that communication. I think we're there. I personally think we should just keep it the way it is. And mostly because of the fact that, like I said, it almost seems ceremonial, or kind of like, you know, going across the street. So that's it.
I'm fine rotating. I don't see any reason why there'd be a problem doing that. I guess since we may have a 2-2 with Commissioner Stevens wanting to get further information, if I could just get clarity on that. Because we have the rotation now with other committees.
Yeah. I think for me, again, it's kind of a nominal concern that I have. And I think with time, if that becomes the practice for LAFCO, I think with the public, it will be kind of a non-issue, but like, I think initially it might be a little bit confusing because it's been here for so long. However, I think that's not the bigger concern. That to me, that again, like it's a nominal issue, like kind of like Commissioner Rodriguez just said, if, you know, if people are coming here or they're coming to the city, I mean, I think it's not going to make a big difference. And when it goes, I think the bigger thing is that we give an opportunity for San Juan residents to have meetings over there, right, to demonstrate, you know, just the relationship. But I think more importantly for me personally, and as you know, representing the city, I would just want to make sure that I understand the burden that it would add to our clerk, and if there's any potential for reimbursement for the time. And I also want to check with my city manager to make sure that we fully understand what that would mean. So that would just be my only question. I would just ask that if we do decide that maybe that is the route we want to go before I made my final decision, I want to be able to clarify that with him. So I'd like an opportunity to do that. Also, it may be something that we may want to talk with the rest of the council. However, more importantly for me, I just want to make sure that our city manager has feedback on it, has an opportunity to give feedback.
And so just for clarification again, the proposal would be for county clerk to do a lot of the preparation, and then the clerks in the respective cities would handle the meeting, and that we just haven't gained clarity on the reimbursement to the cities, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
Right, which I can't think of a reason why that would be an issue to do reimbursement.
For the hours that are put in.
Right, exactly.
Because
And
that's currently happening, I assume county's being reimbursed for.
Right, correct. So I
Okay.
don't know why we couldn't do a similar agreement with both cities.
I mean, we could just give that direction now, right? That we would.
Correct.
Yeah,
reimburse.
so if with that, like for me, if we had that like included in the motion, that there's either we update the document so that it reflects that, or we include that in the motion, then I would be willing to support it tonight.
Okay. Just, I guess anything further?
What's the,
No, it's fine, so.
All right, I'll entertain a motion. We have a recommendation on the table, and we have a suggestion for including additional language to direct that there would be reimbursement for the time spent from respective cities clerks. Entertain a motion to,
I'm just getting to the motion
yeah, no
page.
problem.
I make a motion to approve amendments to administrative policy 6.C.1 to reflect the annual rotating schedule of meeting location, and to approve the proposed rotation plan and schedule, and to
Include reimbursement
include
for the
reimbursement
city.
for all
clerks.
jurisdictions. Thank you.
Thank you. I will second that then.
We have first and second, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kosmicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Zanger,
No.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes?
Commissioner Rodriguez,
No.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
3-2 vote, motion passes.
Wait, did we do public comment?
Yes.
We did, okay, great, all
There
right.
was none.
Sounds good. We'll be moving on then to 5.3, which is proposed policy addition, city-county development agreements discussion only. Executive Officer Stevenson?
Chair, I'm sorry, real quick, if I can, just to clarify, did we establish the order of how the rotation will be? I don't remember.
Yes, it's in the
I didn't see-
packet.
Okay, I just wasn't, I didn't, that's fine, I was making sure we established it, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, thank you for that.
So county finishes the year, we take it over
So for this item you have in front of you, over the last, almost 2 years now, LAFCO has been undergoing a comprehensive update to its, commissioner handbook and administrative policies, and then application policies. And this is part of the application policies, where it was left off when it was, the final, edits and changes were adopted in December, is that there still is a need for additional policy sections to cover city and county development agreements in the areas where they're, within the sphere of influence and immediately adjacent. Policies regarding municipal service reviews, policies regarding proposals affecting more than one county. This one's not as important. Policies regarding indemnification on applications. And the fifth one is policies on protest proceedings. So right now in front of you are draft policies regarding city-county development agreements for those areas within the sphere of influence. I've also attached the entirety of the policy booklet, but this addition would go at the end, so it's the next section. So to summarize, why LAFCO would need policies regarding these agreements is that the area within the sphere of influence, there is a requirement in the government code already that recommends that prior to any sphere of influence change, a city and the county meet and attempt to come to an agreement regarding those areas. And if there is such an agreement, then LAFCO will give it great weight when it comes to LAFCO for any kind of sphere change. But in addition to that, there's a requirement, because it's in the city sphere, that any kind of action by the county in unincorporated areas where they are technically the land use authority would affect the city and future development, future annexations, because the city would be taking those areas on. So it's a very good practice to have an agreement in place between the city and the county to identify what are your zoning standards, what are your development standards, and come to an agreement on that so that when the city does take it on, it's at the same standard as what the city is in need of, requiring of its new developments. The same is true for areas that are immediately adjacent to the sphere of influence. If we're talking very long term, the likelihood is that a sphere of influence is going to grow as an area becomes built out, built up, as there's infill development, then eventually the likelihood is that that sphere will have to increase, which means that those areas are also potential for annexation to a city, and agreements should be in place for those areas as well. Those are not as imminent or important as or the policies promoting agreements between city and counties in the sphere of influence itself. So that's what you have, is a list of draft policies for section 2.9 in front of you. It's only a page and a half. And we can't by law mandate it because it's already just a recommendation in the government code. But the language in here is purely recommended and encourages that kind of wording to promote the city and county to build these agreements as they move forward. So if you have any questions about any of the content there, if you'd like me to go through section by section, let me know.
We'll go to public comment and then we'll come back to the commission.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, you can come up to the podium. No public comment.
Bring it back to the commission. Questions and comments? Commissioner Jordan?
I'm good with everything, thank you.
Commissioner Rodriguez, you got anything? Commissioner Zanger? Commissioner Stevens?
No.
My only issues, just want to clarify, so if there's a proposed development in the unincorporated area, and let's just say the unincorporated area, the county has different zoning, maybe it's rural something or other, and it's 5-acre zoning, what's the goal of, in practice of, the policy as far as, because the city might have substantially different zoning standards. So what would be the goal through the policy as far as having an understanding of how you come to, can you explain that a little further?
Well, the goal of the agreement would be to address those issues on how it would be, how you would overcome any conflicting zoning or what the process might be. So that would be the aim, in having a solution to the issue before it becomes an issue.
Okay, okay. Any-
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Theoretically, though, how would you overcome, it's an example of how you could overcome something like that. I can't really picture that in the agreement.
It depends on the county and the
Okay,
city,
that's fine.
development practices. I would say, while the county is technically the land use authority, it's beholden to the city for many services. So, oftentimes they will still have to work with the city on the zoning and the development standards because the city will be providing services there. So it'd be hard for the county to approve a development without the services the city might be providing in its own sphere of influence. If there was a way, technically the county could move forward with whatever development inside the city sphere. It could, at its own zoning standards.
Right. Okay.
Chair?
Yep.
So this memorializes conversations.
And agreements, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
And agreements.
mm-hmm.
And can I just, okay, so I read this, it seemed to me that, is, as you said, Ms. Stevenson, that it is encouraging a collaborative spirit, right? I am not reading anything in there that's saying that there's any certain type of agreement. So for example, we could just make a general, okay, we kind of have a general agreement around whatever. Or that agreement can be something as formal as an MOU in which all the parties are involved and, there's maybe even public input. There's a lot of stuff involved in that, right? It's very different than just a general kind of agreement. So what I thought was okay about this is that there's nothing that directs us to have a formal or informal agreement. It just generally says an agreement, and then parties then can determine whether they want to have just a general agreement that's kind of informal or more formalized, more legally binding agreement. So am I understanding it properly in that explanation? That's how I was reading it.
Yes, and that's
Okay.
the reason for the language of
Thank you.
encourage or recommend. There's a section that outlines, what content it would be recommended in an agreement. There's a couple of bullet points there, such as development standards, planning and zoning requirements, that kind of thing. But, because it's just recommended, really it's the desire of the agencies themselves. And it could mean anything. In the case of San Juan Bautista, they're right now having to address a potential agreement with the county for areas if they do decide to shrink down their sphere of influence. So that would be the one kind of a potential agreement.
Great. Anything further? This is a discussion only item, so something, can you explain the next steps, please?
I just like to bring it for review. If you have any recommended edits, now would be the time to give those to me so that I can, bring it back to you in a fully vetted form for potential adoption at the next meeting.
Anything further? Hearing none, we'll bring it back for formalized consideration.
Okay.
Good public comment, so that would take us to informational items, 6.1, Executive Officer Communications. Jennifer?
Catch my place here. Okay. Just last week, I was at the LAFCO staff workshop. Annually, they hold a conference that includes commissioners. That's typically in October, and then in the spring sometime, they hold a workshop that's specific to staff. And it's a good opportunity for networking, and they have various panels on items specific to LAFCOs. This time, the focus of the workshop was that LAFCO is in the midst of doing some comprehensive updating of its own and kind of reorganization on how the board is going to operate. So it kind of feeds into my next item for update is that LAFCO has sent out correspondence, and it was attached in your packet. It was please read my note because I know it says Plumas LAFCO, but I received one for each of my other LAFCOs and not one for San Benito, so I don't know where it is in the mail. Anyways, you get the idea of what the content was, is LAFCO trying to be transparent in its process and seeking or soliciting input from its various LAFCO member agencies, and with the goal of ultimately having kind of a more transparent process for its board and decision-making processes. I think that's where there was an issue regarding the legislative committee, so it's brought about this kind of need for change that they're going through. So each of the regions is going to be holding its own LAFCO meeting with an opportunity to provide input into those efforts. So the one for coastal region, which includes San Benito, is going to be in San Jose on May 28th. So if any of the commissioners have input they'd like me to bring to that meeting, I am certainly willing to. You can let me know now or anytime between now and May 28th, and I'll pass that along. The third item is the MSR updates for the city ones. We have developed and sent out a request for information and moving forward. And then for the wastewater one, I am developing calendar dates for each one of the affected agencies for presentation this month. So I'm sure you'll be hearing about that. I have one other item that wasn't on here just for your information because it just occurred. I received an application a couple of months ago for Chapel Road annexation by the property owners. So the county and the city recently received correspondence starting or triggering the tax sharing agreement process for that application. So I'm sure you'll all be hearing about that upcoming. But according to what we talked about, 2 meetings ago in the tax sharing process, that means 60 days from the time that the auditor provides the necessary information to move forward with negotiations, that within 60 days, the two agencies will adopt resolutions and return those to LAFCO. If it can't be done in 60 days, then you can ask for an additional 30 days. So, if you have any questions, let me know later. And that's all I have as far as informational items.
Can you provide anything further on any details of the application? Program?
It's 61 acres along Highway 25, adjacent to Chapel Road. Two areas owned by multiple landowners, but they have 100% consent from all landowners. Yeah, what other kind of information? I can certainly provide you all of the application information, and you should receive a copy of the correspondence that was sent.
We should receive it through LAFCO or our jurisdiction.
Through your jurisdiction.
Okay.
So a copy was sent to the clerk. So you'll receive a copy that way.
Certainly get that.
And to the CAO.
Yeah, if we could make sure we get that sent out. Anything further on that? No, go ahead, anything else?
Nope, that's it. That's all I've got for you.
All right, coming back, I guess we can do public comment first. Is there any public comment on the executive officer communication?
I'd like to make a comment in chambers. You can come up to the podium. No public comment.
Back to the commission, questions and comments? Commissioner Jordan?
Thank you. The wastewater MSR, do you have dates yet for the presentations?
Not for all of them.
Okay.
I have a handful, but not for every single one. But I do anticipate, depending how the rest of them work out, that I could come back at the June meeting, and if not that, then August.
Okay.
Be back here.
And then the city's requests for info, how is that going? Are
So-
both responding?
Responding, they've been
Okay.
responsive.
Okay, thank you.
You, anything else, anything further? Hearing none, that would finish that item up, and that would take us to 6.2, which is commissioner announcements and requests for future agenda items. Do we have any current announcements or future agenda items? Commissioner Rodriguez seems to be.
I don't know if this would be an announcement or a future agenda item, but I personally would like kind of an overview on what a landowner is entitled to once it becomes annexed into the sphere of influence. Say you have a parcel that's going to be annexed into the city of Hollister. What are the state implications of the housing mandates? Because I know that there's been talk, like as with SB 330, that some jurisdictions fall under that rung and some don't. And obviously we've had hundreds of laws. So I think that is something that I personally would want. I don't know if that's something that would be beneficial to all of us. So that way, because once something becomes annexed in or accepted, it almost seems like a parcel could or a property could essentially have access or do more things or be entitled to certain laws or remedies.
So is that a request for a future agenda item?
Like I said, I don't know if other people would want that
Yeah,
information.
you make the request and then we would give consent if there is that clear what Executive Officer Stevenson on what he's asking, or do you need further clarity?
Yeah, I think I understand.
Do you feel that's
But-
appropriate as far as just the jurisdictional?
It's
Responsibility.
certainly something that I can present on with a focus on LAFCO's role and all of that, and the sphere of influence and the effects on property owners. And I can speak some to the housing mandates, et cetera, but we can certainly.
I don't want to waste anyone's time, so if that's something that'd be beneficial to all of you guys, then by all means. If not, then I'll just. you know, I can take this.
It sounds like the request is just for just an information clarification around what that is, right? Is that what your request?
Correct.
Yes, I mean, I'm always open to getting anything that's informational that will help us to, you know, like dig deeper on any issue. So I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
I'd be fine. My request would just be to make it succinct, and if there's additional resources for us to go out and do our own research, so it doesn't become,
Yeah, that sounds
you
reasonable.
rehashing some things we could all probably find on, through getting the appropriate links and maybe those links could
Well,
be-
and I went, well, so having said, okay, with you having said that, and since it sounds like Commissioner Rodriguez is interested and I'm like always open, I wonder if we should schedule something directly with Ms. Stevenson, and, because I know that you've done some of that in the past. I don't know, I mean, we could do that as well, so that it doesn't necessarily have to come here. I don't know, just throwing that out there if it's just the two of us that are interested in it.
Singer?
Either way, I'm,
My suggestion is do a brief presentation in providing some brief resources, where we can go out and do research, and then if you wanna follow up after that, then you all can.
If we need to. Okay, that
I-
sounds good.
I think it's a great idea so that the 4 new commissioners understand what's going on and what LAFCO actually is.
Alrighty.
Okay, I think that's clear. I should mention, one other thing I meant to mention, is that I am compiling a, kind of manual, which is a compilation of all of the presentations that have been done and all of the policies, administrative policies, et cetera. It's gonna be in PDF format with tabs, so that will be made available to all of the commissioners and put online. But essentially, a great resource for a lot of the questions that you might have.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other announcements or requests for future items? Do we have any public comment on commissioner announcements?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, you can come to the podium. No public comment.
Thank you very much. That would take us to adjournment. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.